America True.
Greetings, smart and attractive people of the internet. In this video, we're looking at Bunco, the DVD game. I'll start by saying that the best thing about this production is the music right here. Now you're probably thinking, wait, this music is terrible, and you would be correct. The game just happens to be even worse. So what exactly is Bunco? It's a dice game that originated in 19th century England and then for some bizarre reason had a resurgence in America in the 1980s. There is even a World Bunco Association, and Bunco Championships have even aired on TV. Once you know what the game entails, I'm sure you'll agree that they should have brought back those ancient Japanese farting contests instead. Actually, I would seriously watch that because I'm a freak. Alright, so here are the basic rules. There are 6 rounds, with each round ending when a player reaches a score of at least 21. To score points, you must roll 3 dice and have at least one die display the number of that round. So, for example, if it's the first round, you want to roll at least 1. For the second round, you want to roll at least 1, 2, and so on and so forth. For each die that matches the round number, you get 1 point. If you roll 3 dice of the same number that isn't the round number, that's called a baby bunco, and you will get 5 points. If you roll 3 of the round number, that's a full-blown bunco, and you will get 21 points, and you automatically win the round. Oh, it's also possible to roll a combination that will wipe out your entire score for the round, because fun, I guess? Did you get a form of bunco or at least one round number? Then you get to keep on rolling. Did you only roll duds? Then tough luck, that's the end of your turn. And that's the entire game. There's no holding dice to make combinations as in Yahtzee, or pushing your luck as in Greed. It's literally just rolling the dice and seeing what happens. The game is 100% luck with 0 decisions to make. A player could get bunco before the dice even get to you during a round, or you could go through the entire game without rolling a single round number. Allegedly, this is also known as the Housewives drinking game. I can see why they're also apparently desperate, because this game is boring as hell. One thing I noticed while researching is that some companies who put out a commercial version of the game, which anyone can do since it's in the public domain, really went all in for this demographic, judging by how feminine some of these packages look. Also, I should mention that although this game is apparently huge in America, I've never heard of it as an Australian until I picked up this DVD. Okay, maybe I'm being too rough on the game. After all, I'm a nerdy gamer who likes interesting or at least exciting choices in my games. Maybe you don't. Maybe you just want to roll some dice without having to think about it, and instead focus on chatting with your friends around the table, and that's okay. But even if you do like Bunco, this DVD is quite possibly the worst way to play it. For one, it takes away that tactile, exciting feeling of rolling the dice yourself and seeing them bounce around. On the DVD, 3 numbers basically just pop up on the screen, and that's it. That's not exciting. Secondly, you'll be hearing that terrible music all the time. If you're playing this at a party, presumably you'd want your own music playing in the background instead of the crap on offer here. The announcer is also very repetitive, especially since only one clip was made for when someone rolls no round numbers, and you'll see that clip again, and again, and again, and again, until it haunts your dreams.
You didn't roll any round numbers at all. Pass the remote to your left.
Basically, this DVD diminishes the social aspects of the game, which as I understand it, is the main appeal of it. On the positive side, it offers 3 different game modes: Beginner, which explains the game every step of the way, Normal mode, where the announcer helps to keep you up with the game, and a Fast mode, where you have to keep track of most things yourself, at which point you really should just get some dice out instead. And despite the game being very simple, and thus pretty ideal for a DVD game, it still comes with a score pad which you must fill out manually. The history of Bunco is vastly more interesting than the game itself. As mentioned, it originated in 19th century England, where it was a con game known as 8 dice cloth. In 1855, it emerged as a gambling activity in San Francisco, where it was played in places known as bunco parlors. After the Civil War, it evolved into a more traditional parlor game, but was repopularized as a gambling activity during the 1920s Prohibition era in America and was often associated with speakeasies. Cops would even raid these places, with the groups known as, quote-unquote, bunco squads. Coincidentally, Bunco Squad is the name of my crunk ska band. But as for Bunco the DVD game, I strongly recommend never playing it. Bunco, more like Bumco, because this game is ass. Greetings, smart and attractive people of the internet. In this video, we're looking at Shane Warne's cricket test, and holy hell, the pitch is on fire! That's one thing I love about TV sports coverage. There are overblown openings to try to convince you that things like cricket aren't actually incredibly boring. Now, I understand the rules of cricket thanks to PE class in high school and family gatherings, but I don't follow it at all, so I only know about Shane Warne because of a bunch of sexting scandals he was involved in, and seeing him on commercials for a hair regrowth company. Kudos to him for normalizing hair loss, though on the other hand, from what I know, the service he advertises is very much only for the wealthy. Anyway, as you may have guessed, this is a sports trivia game focused on the game of cricket. Sports trivia DVD games are very common, but don't expect me to cover any more unless they're notable in some way. I just picked this one because I figure I should check out at least one, and I found it for $1. Plus, this way I can make fun of Shane Warne. So, this is a game you can either play solo against the DVD, or with 2 players, though of course, it's also possible to play in teams. Players choose to play as either Australia or the whinging English Poms, a joke I can make because I'm half English, and the winner of a coin flip chooses whether to bat or bowl first, and then the game really begins. If you bowl, you can choose to pick which kind of bowling style to use. I thought this would change the type of questions, but all the options felt pretty similar to me. The only real noticeable difference is that if you pick a spin bowl, which is Warne's favourite style, you'll get much more questions regarding the man himself. One nice touch is that you'll get a little video of Warne describing each bowl after you select it.
Well, if the opposition are getting a partnership together, what you need to do is think outside the box. You have to go for someone that can bowl a mixed bag. Like a mixed bag of lollies, it still has the desired effect to get a wicket.
I should note that lolly means something very different in Australia than what it does in Japan. If you don't know what I'm talking about, do yourself a favour and do not Google it. Trust me, you just don't want to know. The batting team then obviously has to answer the questions correctly, with each question awarding a different amount of runs. The amount of runs you get seems tied to how hard the question is, i.e. how many possible answers a multiple question has, though other times it felt rather arbitrary. Another interesting thing about this DVD is that they try to make it feel like an actual cricket match. So instead of operating like a standard trivia game, there are instead multiple overs and wickets. If you don't know what that means, this DVD is not for you. All you need to know is that it's possible to get out for a duck if you've bowled out without getting a question right, and yes, there is a little duck animation to go with it.
Oh no, he's gone without scoring. That's a duck.
That's cracktastic. The most unusual, in my opinion most stupid way this tries to emulate an actual cricket game is that if the batting team gets the question wrong, Warne will appeal to the umpire and the batter will either be safe or out. And the result seems to be entirely random. It's 10 outs before the team swap sides, meaning just like in a real cricket match, this game can go on for way longer than it should. That said, the absolutely best part of this game is seeing Warne look disappointed after the umpire calls him a dumbass.
Not out, says the umpire. The batsman has another life. Oh, close. But the umpire says not out.
Not out.
Yeah, good call by the umpire. Here comes the next ball. Well, he's given it not out, and it's the end of the over.
Despite my complaints about the DVD game being too convoluted for its own good, again just like real cricket, the production values are pretty good, unlike my own videos. There is also a good variety of questions, ranging from general trivia to identifying a blurred out player in a video to guessing where the ball is in an apparently iconic photo. If you're an actual cricket fan, I could see this being pretty fun. I also enjoyed some of the joke answers, especially the ones making fun of cricket players. Oh, and one of the possible answers was Billy Ray Cyrus. I will note that it seems a bit buggy at times, with the game suddenly either awarding me runs or getting me out before it even asks me a question. So yes, that is Shane Warne's cricket test. If you're the target audience, I think it could be a fun way to spend an afternoon. Anyone else, stay far away.
You can choose not to answer the red carpet questions, however, and allow the next players to have their turn instead.
But that would be extremely cowardly.
It would.
Greetings, smart and attractive people of the internet. In this video, we're looking at the DVD game Margaret and David at the Movies Interactive Quiz. For those who aren't familiar, Margaret and David are basically the Australian Siskel and Ebert. Some people may accuse them of being a bit wanky and arty-farty, and perhaps they are right. But I loved watching their show, and they did great work supporting the arts in Australia, and covered lots of foreign and independent films, including many works by marginalised artists. All in all, they were a pretty big influence on how I appreciate film and art in general. So yes, I'm also wanky and arty-farty. Deal with it. Anyway, it's for this reason I'm sad to say that the game kinda sucks. For one thing, there isn't nearly enough Margaret and David. They do a little introduction to the DVD, and after answering a second bonus question correctly, they'll have a little chat about a movie, but for the most part, they just pop in very occasionally to ask a question, which is then displayed in text anyway, and then they'll say the answer. Their presence really feels quite superfluous. I should also note that the audio mixing on their clips can get quite messy here and there. Second, this is a very lo-fi DVD game. For one thing, it comes with a paper pad so you can keep score yourself, as the game doesn't keep track of points, teams, turns, or anything else really. There is no fanfare if you win the game, because it doesn't know when you win the game. The DVD just keeps going until you turn it off. Oh, by the way, whoever gets to 100 points first wins the game. Another problem is that aside from the small amount of questions asked by the dynamic duo themselves and some movie clips here and there is no voice work in this game, or even sound or music. I would compare it to a Flash game, but even those at least tended to have animation and sounds. Of course, the movie clips are also rarely from well-known modern films, but there are plenty from black and white, foreign, and Australian film, probably because they're cheaper to license. But really, they do feel more up the show's alley. Now, there is one advantage to this, in that everything moves fast since questions just move from one to the next. A common complaint I have with games like this is that they just play too slowly, but some kind of pizzazz to make things more exciting would have been nice. Then we have the questions themselves. The back of the case claims there are questions for both film buffs and casual movie fans, but the game doesn't offer difficulties for the teams, so everyone gets the same mix of super obscure and super obvious questions, making it a real crapshoot. As for the variety, there are questions about blockbusters, Australian, foreign, arthouse, and classic film, so all over the place. Apparently the questions are about Margaret and David's favourite movies, which is cool if true, but I doubt it is. Genres are also all over the shop, with comedy, musicals, war, martial arts, romance, horror, fantasy, and probably other ones I'm forgetting. So really, this is very much a game for film buffs. Because while I did very well with the horror questions, I didn't do so hot with the war films, as I prefer documentaries on that topic. All of these are split over 6 categories, and of course you don't get to pick which one to get a question from. It's all random. Also random is the type of question you get, which could involve citing quotes, answering a question about an image shown on screen, normal trivia questions, and quick draw, where you have to answer as many of the displayed questions as possible before time runs out, although it looks like you have to time it yourself. Oh, and since the game doesn't keep track of anything, it of course has the common DVD game problem of repeating questions during the same match. So yes, this does have the advantage of being quick to play, and I could see it being fun once or twice if you have a group of friends who are as much of movie buffs as Margaret and David themselves, but even then all the other flaws really drag this product down. Sorry Margaret and David, I'll rate your game 1 star.